Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And before we get started with this week's news, I want to let you guys know we interviewed Teddy Zigzag Andriadis yesterday. He toured with Guns N' Roses on the Use Your Illusion tour from late 91 to early 93. He also played on Duff's solo record, Gilby's solo record. He played on Gilby's upcoming record. He also played on Slash's Snake Pit albums, and he even played in Slash's Blues Ball as well. So we chatted with him for over 2 hours. It's a great interview. He's got tons of great stories about the band you've never heard before. So go check it out in the description box below. We also interviewed Raz Q this weekend, and we haven't released the interview yet, but he was Guns N' Roses' first manager. A lot of people think Vicky Hamilton was. She was not the first manager. It was Raz Q. So he had some great stories to share from back in the day. And then we interviewed somebody else on Friday who I'm not going to reveal who that is, but this person also hung out with the band back in the Appetite days and had some great stories to share. So we'll be releasing that next week and the Raz Q interview the following week. The end of the month, guys, we've got a huge interview, and I'm sure that's going to be one of the most juiciest interviews we've ever done as well, and it'll probably be a 3-hour-long interview, so more details will be coming soon. Although if you guys are patrons, you guys already know who I'm interviewing. So let's get started with this week's news. So in a follow-up to last week's news story, we had found out that Izzy apparently showed up in Nashville, was about to go on stage with Guns, or was intending on going on stage with Guns, including Steven Adler, but something happened and Izzy left. Well, it looks like there's been more information that's emerged about what went down in Nashville. And keep in mind, guys, this is all hearsay. These are all rumors. So according to the MyGNR forums, there was a poster who said that the Nashville 2016 show was where Izzy was supposed to show up. And it wasn't just Nashville, it was Pittsburgh as well. So he said it was Nashville. And for those who don't believe it could have gone out, remember, literally no one knew that Adler was in Cincinnati until the moment he hit the stage. So according to the poster on the forums, they said their friend was hanging out with the band before their Nashville show. Izzy was at the hotel and I think soundcheck. She said he seemed pretty annoyed and grumpy. Basically, they said they want him to play, but he was in a shit mood and wasn't playing. He seemed really annoyed with Steven Adler. She said Izzy only seemed to care about Duff and didn't really talk to anybody else. So the person we interviewed on Friday has some contacts with the Guns N' Roses camp and confirmed Alan Niven's story about what went down in Nashville. Now, I know for a fact that Izzy never soundchecked with the band. He was there, but he never soundchecked. And why would Izzy soundcheck if he wasn't happy with the terms of any kind of agreement he had to show up and play a couple songs with the band? Now, if I had to guess why I think Izzy was pissed off, I think it had to do with money. We know Steven Adler did not really get paid a whole lot of money to show up to those gigs that he played in Cincinnati and LA and Buenos Aires in Argentina. And maybe he was pissed off that Steven wasn't on Izzy's page in terms of making sure that everyone got an equal cut of the loot. So that's my guess in terms of what I think went down in Nashville. But I know for a fact that Izzy never soundchecked. So let's go on to our next news story. So Axl Rose has been pretty active on Twitter the past couple weeks. He's been tweeting about Donald Trump. And this week, he tweeted about Apple CEO Tim Cook. Now, this kind of came out of nowhere, and a lot of people had to look up what exactly he meant. So Axl took to Twitter and said Tim Cook, who's the CEO of Apple, he said he is the Donald Trump of the music industry. So a lot of people had to look it up. What exactly did Axl mean? Now, one thing that Axl may be referring to is some news that had come out in the last couple weeks concerning Apple. So it's possible that Apple may be killing off their iTunes service in favor of streaming music. So I guess this could spell some bad news for artists in terms of royalty payments and possibly getting people to download their music. So if you guys want to read more about it, I've linked the article below. If you guys remember, sometime early this year, Slash made a visit to Capitol Hill in Washington to meet with lawmakers to talk about discussing creators' rights. And even former Guns N' Roses producer Mike Klink has been a big proponent of creators' rights as well. So this is a really cool interview, guys. The first ever Guns N' Roses interview has surfaced online. So this is from 1985, and it features Axl Rose and Izzy Stradlin and Tracy Guns being interviewed on the radio. And it was put up by Raz Q, who we interviewed earlier this weekend. I've linked to it down below, and you guys should definitely check it out. So we also had some news concerning Slash and Duff McKagan. So it was revealed this week that they'd be going to Seattle to perform at the Musicares benefit show. So according to Blabbermouth, both Slash and Duff will be basically performing at the Musicares benefit on May 10th, 2018 that will honor Pearl Jam guitarist Mike McCready. So McCready will be receiving the Stevie Ray Vaughan Award in recognition of his dedication and support of Musicares and his commitment to helping others in the addiction recovery process. Other performers will include Barrett Martin, Chad Smith, Mike Ness, and Nancy Wilson. Now, what's important about this event is that it's taking place on the exact same day that Steven Adler is playing the Whiskey A Go-Go with Slash's Sons band, Classless Act. So there was some rumor saying, oh, is Duff or Slash going to show up to the gig? It looks like since they're in Seattle, they probably won't be at the Steven Adler show. The tickets range in price from $250 to all the way to $5,000 for Platinum Prime Cabaret floor seating for 4, and all tickets will include a buffet as well. So we also had some Oscars news. So a couple weeks ago, the Oscars were held, and Gary Oldman won for Best Actor for his portrayal of Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour. And both Slash and Matt Sorum took to Twitter to actually congratulate him. So if you guys remember, Gary Oldman appeared in the Since I Don't Have You video, and he was actually partying with Slash a lot around that time. And that was around the time he went to rehab. So shortly after he shot the video, the next time Slash heard from Gary Oldman was in rehab. So we had some more news concerning Gibson. Now the company's been in a lot of difficult financial situation lately. Now, according to 6 Sense, Gibson, the maker of the iconic guitars, has announced layoffs as the company's credit rating was lowered earlier this week. So they basically were hurtling towards 2 deadlines this summer at which it must come up with a plan to pay its creditors and bondholders more than $500 million. So the company's credit rating was lowered to CCC-, the same vulnerable rating as Guitar Center, reports the Dayton Daily News. So the new rating comes with a description: default imminent with little prospect for recovery. So Gibson representatives have been bullish on the company's chances of survival, but Gibson also recently announced it was firing 15 employees at its Nashville custom shop ahead of its big debt refinancing effort. So the CEO of the company said that downsizing was part of the company's refinancing initiative, and it was reported last month by the Nashville Post that Gibson has until July 23rd to refinance hundreds of millions in bonds. Now, I think that's around the time of Slash's birthday as well. So at the end of the day, someone will take control of the company, be it the people who have the debt or the bondholders. So rock and roll legend Kid Rock actually has a new video out called American Rock and Roll, and there's a split second or so at the 1 minute 21 second mark where you can see Slash in the video. So he's playing in front of this big screen with different performers on the background, and you see Slash in the studio for a couple seconds. Now, if you guys remember, Kid Rock performed on Slash's 2010 record, just titled Slash, on the song I Hold On. So we have a new interview with Our Lady Peace, the legendary Canadian rock band. Now, they opened up a number of shows for Guns N' Roses on their summer tour through Canada, including the show that I went to. Now, I'm not really a fan of their music, and they're kind of like a relic of the 90s, but they opened up the Edmonton show. I didn't really go see them open for Guns. I just went and saw Guns play. And they were asked about touring with Guns N' Roses, and they said Guns N' Roses was a tour on scale that I'd never seen in my life. I don't think it gets any bigger than that. Getting to tour with a band that I looked up to my whole life, you can't put it into words. It's an honor beyond words. I had a couple run-ins with Slash and Duff, and let's say I was nervous around them. They were also asked, did you get to hang out with them or talk a lot? And he said, I talked to them a bit, but most of my sentences were jumbled words because I was nervous. I don't usually fanboy in front of people, but you know it's Slash. And then they were asked, what were some of the fun backstage or highlight moments on tour with Guns N' Roses? And they said, honestly, there wasn't a lot of interband mingling. They were kind of set up on the other side of the stadium on their own wing of dressing rooms, and we were on the other side. The funniest situation that happened was the big boxing match between Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. We were in Regina, and our buses were parked at the hotel. Axl Rose's bus was parked next to ours, and for some reason our bus was the only one that would get the signal to the fight. So we ended up buying the fight, watching on our bus. We had to keep the window open so Axl could watch from his bus next to ours. We also had another interview with former Guns N' Roses bassist Tommy Stinson, where he briefly brought up Axl Rose. So he talked a bit about the reunion tour, and he said playing with Bash and Pop is a complete 180 from working with Guns N' Roses, touring arenas, and knocking out 3-hour sets. He said that's how Axl rolls. I saw them a couple times last year. He's not going to shortchange you. He's going to give Bruce and everyone else a run for their money. So Tommy's been really positive towards Axl, and it looks like he probably left on much better terms than Bumblefoot did. So that does it for this week's news. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and be sure to share it as well. Also, be sure to go check out our interview with Teddy Zigzag Andriadis, and be sure to wait for our interview coming up with Raz Q. and some of the other ones we got coming later this month. Also, be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do. Thanks, guys, and have yourself a good one. Take